are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 202 of the College Loop Podcast. I'm Dylan Larck, @boyting on Twitter, and I'm here to talk to y'all today about something I've had on my chest for a long while, and I know a lot of people who've listened to the show before know my opinions on the matter, but Auburn is officially going to Nike in 2025. We've talked about this several times already, but I think it is time to finally have a sit-down conversation, one-on-one. And if any Nike executives are watching the show, I employ you to sit down and take some notes, because I have a great conversation to have with y'all about what Auburn should look like in the future. Now, starting off with one thing that I think the biggest words, I don't know if that's a word I want to use there. The biggest thing I take away from Auburn football jerseys is the fact that Auburn football is the only major sport at Auburn that does not have an orange uniform. I think that orange is one of Auburn's main colors. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it is orange and blue, burnt orange and navy. I believe the orange always comes first, but orange is only ever used as an accent color for football uniforms. It's only on the power stripe or going down the helmet, going across the shoulders. Never anything else. Going down the pants, of course. Nothing else. You get a orange face mask every now and again, but you never get anything else. And I know if you look at the thumbnail closely, you say that I incorporated orange as much as I possibly could, in every single aspect. I like the color orange. I wear the color orange a lot. Two of my favorite polos that I like to wear are orange polos. I think orange is such a huge part of what makes Auburn that I don't think the football team really does anything with it. I know there's been orange jerseys in the past. There's been the orange drop shadow, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. But overall, the football team doesn't do anything with the orange outside of just having it there as kind of a decorational color. Auburn has more things to do with white than it does with orange. And of course, navy is always going to be like the main color that people associate with Auburn, but that burnt orange is Auburn. And I know you also have orange teams like Texas and Syracuse and Oregon State and Oklahoma State that really pop whenever you see the orange uniforms. But Auburn has an opportunity to do that too. I think the orange and blue color scheme is really, really cool because I guess only some teams have it. But you look over at Syracuse. Syracuse does the orange and blue very, very well whenever they can focus on the orange. I think it is officially time for Auburn to sit down with Nike and get this done. I mean, Auburn Baseball has orange uniforms. Auburn Softball has orange uniforms. The equestrian might. Gymnastics definitely has a bunch of orange leotards. And Auburn Basketball, both men's and women's, they have orange uniforms. I also love the fact that women's basketball has pink uniforms for breast cancer awareness. That's such a cool alternate uniform that Under Armour has specifically only done for other sports. I don't understand why Auburn football has not gotten the same treatment. I understand like the whole argument of it's tradition, you don't want to break tradition thing. I think that's a load of baloney. I love tradition as much as the next guy, but some traditions can be seen as outdated. I think the fact that Auburn hasn't really done anything special outside of I think the last thing Auburn really did that really like popped was the memorial for putting the number 7 on the helmet in memory of Pat Sullivan after his passing. But after that, it's just been face masks. And Auburn Twitter loves to tease. They had that one orange out game versus Penn State, and all they did was post like orange jersey fabric all over their Twitter pages and Instagram and Facebooks, trying to fish for likes. I mean, I love Auburn's social media team as much as the next guy, but I'm also a big component of let's get some orange uniforms. Let's have an orange jersey. I know people see it as bad luck because it's happened in the past and when Auburn wasn't as prominent of a team, but Auburn has an opportunity to do something really special with Nike. Nike makes great uniforms across all sports. I think it's time Auburn finally does that and gets an orange uniform. And of course, we posted this not too long ago. This quote question graphic about should Auburn bring back the orange drop shadow. I think it's another cool like blast from the past uniform that Auburn played with in the 90s. I mean, Damian Craig had this and it looked really cool with the 16. I think that Auburn could really pull it off nowadays. And there's like a lot of other cool things. And I know like Clint Richardson on Twitter has a lot of great uniform combos that he always mocks up. And I think it's something that if you are questioning if you'd like the jerseys or not, go check those out. Free promo because his like edits are really, really cool. But Auburn is in a place where this Nike not only does great things for your athletes in terms of making sure no one gets hurt just from the equipment alone, but there are a lot of players out there, a lot of high schoolers that are going on visits, are committing to places because of the swag that they'll get. I mean, that's also a contributing factor to getting new jerseys. Because look at Oregon. Oregon does great in recruiting, not just because of Dan Lanning and how great of a job he's doing there, but also because people want to go to Oregon because you're going to get 8,000 jerseys during your time there. And Auburn already does enough off the field with their uniforms. I mean, look at the practice uniforms. I mean, the orange jerseys right there for the non-contact jerseys. I think they've always looked pretty cool. But also the practice uniforms also come with blue pants with the orange and white power stripes. I think that could be the coolest thing ever if Auburn wore that with a white jersey. That is all I'm asking, is just bring those jerseys into a game scenario. I have been asking for this for the past 2 years since they've started like introducing them. It's just so cool to look at because it's something different. It's something fun. It's something I guess you just never seen Auburn do it before. I mean, Auburn's had the orange jerseys and the orange drop shadow, but never had blue pants. Blue pants has never been a part of Auburn uniform history to my knowledge. And I'm not saying like go out and get like the retro leather helmet look that you've seen, that I think the Wisconsin did that, or someone did the like leather helmet look. I can't remember exactly who it was. But I'm actually gonna look that up as I'm talking. But looking at it like it looks like it was the Washington team. I thought it was the college team that did that. But I guess not. But yeah, I think that it is an opportunity for Auburn to really kind of step forward into this new era of recruiting, and because you're really going to be recruiting guys throughout their entirety of being at your college. And of course, there are a lot of schools that don't have those uniforms that still do very, very well. Alabama's had high school uniforms since they've started like playing football. Penn State doesn't even do anything to their helmets outside of just one simple stripe. But a lot of other schools, I think, really encapsulate what makes these college football uniforms so cool. Look at Ohio State does a lot of great things with a bunch of their alternate colors. Their blackout uniform is one of my favorite ones they have, as well as their gray uniforms. Clemson has purple uniforms. LSU has purple uniforms that they should wear way more often. But that's just kind of how I see it. And looking even look at Georgia. Georgia keeps it very classic, but they have uniforms that come up out of nowhere that they never wear that look really, really cool. Their black jerseys look awesome. And now, of course, they're doing it wrong, i.e. Florida in the gator skin uniforms. But overall, I think it is time for Auburn football to finally get a alternate uniform in some way, shape, or form. I'm not talking about different. I don't need a different colored face mask. I don't want another helmet sticker. I want a major change that will work very, very well. I.e., I am such a huge fan of the orange jersey concepts. I think if done right, it could be one of Auburn's best uniform combos. An orange jersey with white pants, the white helmet with an orange face mask. I think that look really cool. Of course, there's also overdoing it. Don't do a fully orange uniform. I don't think the orange jersey and the blue pants would look very good. I think you definitely got to balance out orange with a lot of white, which that's Auburn's best uniform that they have currently, which I don't know how likely it is to change no matter what, is the white face mask, the white jersey, the white pants, and all the way the stormtrooper uniforms. If you need the actual name of them, those are the best uniforms Auburn football has. And then I think their their home uniforms are fine. I think they're good. I keep saying fine. I think their home uniforms are really good too, but it can get stale, especially when I think if you're going to do like orange out days, I think Auburn should actually step up to the plate and wear orange jerseys. I am a huge component of that. I will continue to preach about why Auburn should get orange jerseys till the day that it either happens or the day that I die, whichever one comes first. And I even think it'd be cool just to do something as minor as just the drop shadow. I mean, I'll pull it up again if you didn't see the thumbnail. And I'm sorry if you're listening to the show, but you'll just have to check out the YouTube or go check out the Twitter and Instagrams. The graphic is still up there. The drop shadow looks really cool with both uniforms. It's just adding that little bit of orange, especially because that adds the level of orange that Auburn already accents into their uniforms. It's not a focal point. It's just a way of accenting and making the navy number and the white number pop even more. Makes it less 2D, makes it more 3D. And I think that makes it look really, really cool. So going forward, Nike, listen to me. Bring orange back to Auburn. I think it is back to Auburn football, for that matter. It's time. Auburn football again. I'll say it again. Auburn football, only major sport on the plains that does not have an orange uniform. And I think it is time for that to change. And I think it'll happen with Nike. And I'm just hoping and praying that it does, because I really want orange jerseys. I can add to my collection over here. I have a lot of blue, but I got to be honest, whenever it comes to Auburn jerseys, I would much rather buy the white uniform than the blue uniform. And orange would change that. I mean, I have a Bobby Boucher jersey back all the way back here. Yeah, Bobby Boucher right there. I like that jersey a lot. I like the color orange. But yeah, with that'll do it for my conversation. Let me know what you think about Auburn getting alternate uniforms. What kind of alternate uniform do you want to see? Do you want to see the blue pants back in the actual games? Do you want to see the return of the orange uniforms? Do you want to see a blast from the past from the 90s with the orange drop shadow? Let me know in the comment section below or in the live chat as the show is going on. And also tweet at us as well if you'd like to let us know. Tweet us your favorite uniform concept that you've seen. Believe me, I've seen every single one. I have an entire album of just my favorite Auburn concepts, and I just think it's so cool to see Auburn finally have a chance to get that done with Nike. But with that, before we get into some basketball, because the SEC schedule has been, the SEC opponents have been announced, not the schedule quite yet. The SEC opponents have been announced for Auburn men's basketball. Before we get into that, I want to go and let y'all know if you are listening to the show, thank you so much. Make sure that if you're on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, Podcast, Google Podcasts, or Amazon Music, make sure that you favorite and rate 5 stars on all of those. Just go ahead, just go through every single app and just do that. And of course, make sure to follow us on social medias as well. All of those at the College Loop. And of course, if you're looking for other ways you can support the show and all of us here at the Whirlpool Podcast Network, you can get some very awesome College Loop merch that, again, I'll be playing my commercial in just a second, but just so you're aware, there's a College Loop hat available on sale for $25 and the Feelin' Loopy t-shirt that is still on sale for $25 right there on the warport.com. And with that, here's that little commercial to let you know all of that again. Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your College Loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program. And of course, whenever you get those merch items, into your possession, make sure that you go on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all of those. Post that you got your merch. Then post yourself wearing them. Post with your dog wearing them. Whoever wants to wear the merch, post a picture of them on social media and tag us and use hashtag feeling loopy. That's feeling without the G, loopy, to let us know that you are enjoying the merch. Because believe me, that shirt, most comfortable shirt ever. Believe me, that is 100% guaranteed. That shirt is constantly in the wash because I am wearing it every single week. And whenever my hat comes in, believe you me, that hat is going to be on my head 24/7. I'm going to wear it to sleep. I'll wear it in the shower. I'll wear it to the beach. I'll wear it wherever hats are, not look or frowned upon. But that's pretty much nowhere. But yeah, with that, moving on to Auburn men's basketball, SEC opponents have been announced. And I'll go ahead and run through Auburn's home schedule. Auburn only has 3 home and homes this season with Alabama, Georgia, and Ole Miss. Alabama and Georgia pretty much always going to be those home and homes. And then Ole Miss is going to be this year's. And then going through the home schedule, Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Missouri, Oklahoma, and of course Tennessee. A very, very solid home slate. This is kind of funny because Oklahoma is going to be traveling to the Plains for both basketball and for football. Hopefully that trend keeps going on throughout all the sports, because I do not want Auburn softball to have to deal with Oklahoma softball anytime soon. I'm sure a lot of people around the world share that sentiment as well. Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss. I mean, I think those are in Arkansas. Well, I don't think we played Arkansas last year at home, but Alabama, Tennessee, and Ole Miss and Georgia are pretty much teams that always expect to see Auburn play at home. Don't have a home and home with Tennessee this year, which is a little bit sad. I always enjoy whenever that game is a 2-timer. Florida is going to be a very interesting game. Florida on an upward trend. Met Auburn in the SEC tournament last year and had a very, very solid ending to their season up until they got knocked out of the NCAA tournament. Georgia, a team that's going to be very dangerous again. They gave Auburn fits last year. They always find a way to give Auburn fits, especially with the fact that Mike White is now at the Georgia Bulldogs. Arkansas is going to be a very interesting one at home because that is going to be the new look Arkansas Razorbacks under John Calipari traveling to the Plains. It'll be the same level of hatred because A, it's Arkansas, and B, it's John Calipari. Actually, you can actually go 1A and 1B for that one because I think that's going to be a high octane hatred game because that's just always how those factors mix in. Going into the away slate, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss per the huge, as we said earlier. And then you got Kentucky and their brand new look under former BYU coach. I cannot remember his name off the top of my head at this moment. LSU, who's going to be looking to kind of rekindle some magic after they had a very, very disappointing year last season. South Carolina looking to hopefully rekindle their magic from last year where they got SEC Coach of the Year under their belt. Texas and Texas A&M are going to be on the away side as well, and then going to be traveling to Auburn North Campus to play the Vanderbilt Commodores. I think it's a very favorable look. I think I want to see more of what Arkansas is going to look like. I don't know if their entire roster has been finalized. I know that Calipari has really been going hard in the portal this offseason strictly because a new look team, new look everything in Fayetteville. If I had to pick a game that I am most excited for, it's got to be the Iron Bowl of basketball in Neville Arena. And I think that's just because there's a lot of factors that go into that. I mean, LeBaron Philon and Aiden Holloway at the guard position for Alabama really going to make that game very interesting. Kind of see how JP Pegues develops under Bruce Pearl and company. And then the away games, I mean, Texas is going to be a lot of fun. Kentucky's going to be a lot of fun to see how those programs, and especially if Texas can kind of get back to where they were. Ole Miss is also going to be a fun home and home. I think a lot. Just see how Chris Beard kind of develops going into year 2. And I'd be remiss to say that Arkansas probably is not a game that I would have highlighted on a schedule. I feel like if a game was to sell out in Neville Arena quicker than the Iron Bowl, it'd probably be the Arkansas game, strictly just because of Calipari. And that's just how that's going to go. Because Arkansas is, I think, more hyped up than they've ever been. I don't think that they ever got to this level of hype under Muss, and they got into some hype under Muss, but with a one-time championship winning coach, who could be on a downward spin, but we don't know yet. That only time will tell at this point. It'll be very interesting to see how this happens, especially a year after Auburn ran Arkansas out of Fayetteville. So it'll be very interesting to see how that game goes going into next year. The dates have not been released yet, as well as I don't even think most of the I don't even think some of the non-cons have even been really announced yet. So I'm going to check that real quick before I sound stupid on air, because that is very prone to happening. Men's basketball. I just looked at men's basketball. Auburn men's basketball would probably be the better thing to search up. But as far as I'm aware, that's the only bit of schedule that's been announced thus far, as my computer takes so long to load things. But I do think that is all that Auburn, all that's been announced for Auburn thus far. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's all that's been announced so far. So we'll kind of figure those out as the season gets closer. Still got a lot of time between now and then. And of course, it's going to be a lot of fun to see these new teams in the SEC. Now move on to Auburn Baseball. In a season that pretty much is over after this weekend. I don't think Auburn will be going to Hoover. They kind of squandered that by losing to Missouri in game one. They would have had to go 6-0 to even stand a chance. Auburn currently stands at 6-21 in the SEC, currently 4 games behind LSU, and 5 games behind Florida. So those are your 11 and 12 seeds right there are going to be the last 2 spots at SEC tournament going to Hoover. I think the only other team that could really get in there that's not in there right now is Missouri, and they'd have to win their weekend series. But even if Auburn did, they would only jump Missouri and be 13 in the SEC. I'm not going to go too far in depth about this entire thing. It does, in fact, suck very much so that Auburn is in this predicament. I think that it's going to be a very interesting offseason, kind of see what kind of moves happen, if Auburn can keep a lot of their star players on the roster. I know you're going to have probably some guys leave. Ike Irish probably will be headed to the MLB draft unless NIL comes a knocking. But overall, I think it's a failure of a season. If you ask me, and I think everyone in the front office over there will agree. Not one enough to where I would fire Butch Thompson. I think that if he has another bad year in a row, maybe you start the conversation. But overall, I don't think you fire him after this year whatsoever. But Auburn Baseball does have one more midweek on the season before they take on Alabama on the last weekend series of the season, probably the last 3 games of the regular season, before we get into a massive dead period, unless Auburn softball can continue on their little hot streak they got going on outside of the SEC tournament, of course. But of course, they're going to be playing Samford on Wednesday. A team they've met before already in February, when Auburn was winning a lot more games than losing. Beat them 12-3 in Auburn, but Auburn will be traveling up to Hoover, a place that Auburn does not very much fare well in. And I'm sorry, that's going to be today as the show comes out on Tuesday. I think Auburn still has the firepower to beat Samford. Samford having a very solid season regardless, not a team to ever scoff at when it comes to mid-majors. As a team, Samford is batting a .312. They got 83 home runs on the year. And as a pitching staff, they are letting up a 6 ERA. Auburn, on the other hand, is currently batting a 2.73 as a team, and currently 13th in the SEC with a 5.9 ERA. Yeah, I still think Auburn is more talented than Samford is. It kind of just comes down to that. I think coaching also plays into a fact here. I think with it being a midweek in Hoover, it'll be probably the last game Auburn plays in Hoover this year, or the only game Auburn plays in Hoover this year, unless they might have already played up there. But overall, I think that Auburn wins this game, and I think that you kind of just get ready for the Alabama game. You got to try to figure out a way to finish with some momentum, and you can do that with a series win over Alabama, as well as, of course, a midweek win over Samford. That's pretty much all I got for baseball. Again, pretty rough season. Looking to turn it around, and you gotta really hope you can keep a lot of these star players on the roster, and as well as getting rid of a pitching coach. I got really close to the mic to say that, just so they're aware. And then last bit of Auburn news: Auburn men's golf currently in their regional in Baton Rouge, where they currently stand after round one at second place with a 3 under. Only one of two teams. Auburn is one of two teams who are currently under par, only behind Virginia, who is currently 8 under par. But remember, this will go to 3 rounds. The top 5 teams out of those after those 3 rounds will move on going forward, and we'll advance to the national championship game, national championship, not game, match, where I still think Auburn is a heavy favorite. I put on their tweet notifications today just so I can keep up with it closer. I got so many tweets about Eagles and birdies and unders, and it was just so cool. Auburn was on fire this year, especially with this freshman class. Got a lot of SEC All Freshman awards, a lot of All American awards, a lot of SEC Player of the Year awards. And Auburn women's golf is no stranger to that either. They are also having a very solid year. They are, I believe, moving on to their regional. I know for a fact they're moving on to a regional, and they'll get ready to play very, very soon. But yeah, Auburn men's golf, very, very solid. If you're looking for a team to really support in the postseason that could maybe win a ring or so, look at Auburn golf. Auburn softball is going to Tallahassee. I know we talked about that on the live stream whenever it happened. I'm not too keen on the drop, especially because Alabama got a regional for some reason. But Auburn should fare nicely with UCF as long as they can slow down their offense. And then I couldn't tell you what my thoughts are on words on Auburn and Florida State. I always hate when Auburn has to play in Tallahassee for any reason. And then, of course, if Auburn were to beat Florida State, they would be met right next to the number 2 overall seed in Oklahoma, which, as I said earlier, I don't want to meet them there, but they'll probably be there if Auburn gets past Florida State. So with that, that'll do it for today's episode of the College Loop Podcast. Of course, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and go back to the conversation before. What do you think about Auburn's potential of getting some nice alternate uniforms? Do you think Auburn should get an orange uniform? Do you think it should go back to the drop shadow? What do you think? Leave it below in the comments. And of course, you can also tweet at us as well. And believe me, we will reach out and talk back to you because I love talking to y'all. Y'all are so intuitive when it comes to things to talk about. And of course, I am very opinionated when it comes to Auburn uniforms. And as well as liking, commenting, and subscribing on the YouTube. Make sure you check out the audio versions of the show as well on Spotify Podcasts, Google Podcasts, of course, Amazon Music. And make sure to rate all those 5 stars as well. And final tidbit. Don't forget to follow us on social media on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the works, all of those at The College Loop. And don't forget the merch, which is available on thewarreport.com. Go to the shop, and it'll be right there on the first page. You get your hat. Go to the second page, and you can get your Feeling Loopy shirt. Each of those are $25, $50 total. Believe me, best $50 you'll ever spend in your entire life. Father's Day is coming up in just a month, and nothing beats a College Loop dad hat that you can get available on thewarreport.com and go on their shop. But with that being said, of course, don't forget, I'm Dylan Larck, @boytank on Twitter. And of course, coming Instagram as well, @Dylan Larck and DYLEN And of course, all of that being said, thanks for tuning in, War Eagle. And this, of course, has been the College Loop Podcast.